Welcome to Behind the Badge, episode 136. We are very excited today to have our police digital technicians. The few times I've been on Behind the Badge, I thought the police digital technicians really do a tremendous amount of work. So it'd be a great idea to get them from behind the cameras to in front of the camera and on the mics.
Oh, yeah.
So today we have Ray and Mike, who I have to say a few years ago we stole from News 10.
Yep.
So
That's correct.
I'm going to just start with Ray. Ray, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am a lifelong resident of, mostly lifelong, of Monroe County. Grew up here, grew up in the city till I was about 10 years old. And then we moved out to Chi-Li, graduated from Gates Chi-Li in 1996. Then went to SUNY Brockport, graduated from there in 2000. From there, I started my professional career at Channel 8, and I was there for about 5 years. Was mostly a photographer while I was there, and then in 2005, I moved from Channel 8 over to Channel 10 and worked there for the rest of my career. I was a photographer at Channel 10, but kind of was a little bit of a jack of all trades. Photographer, sports producer. I ended my career for the last probably 8 or 9 years working the assignment desk, which means basically I kind of ran the day-to-day operations of the newsroom. Kind of everything that comes in, I've got to kind of look at it and filter it and decide what we might want to work on, or be one of the people that kind of helps decide what we're working on. Run the meetings throughout the days, make sure everybody's on task, and that's what I did for kind of like the last, like I said, 8 or 9 years of my career over at Channel 10.
So pretty much if I was mad at News 10, it was your fault.
Somewhat. I was one of the people that probably, I was the guy who answered the phone the majority of the time when you're running the assignment desk. You answer the phone and say, hello, News 10 NBC. And if people had complaints, I was the first person they talked to.
So you got a degree in communications and broadcasting. What was your goal? Did you want to be an on-air person, or did you always want to be behind the scenes?
I always kind of wanted to be behind the scenes. And I originally went to school, I was going to be a history teacher. I was always very interested in history throughout, middle school, high school, college, just current events and kind of the way things worked and things like that. And I also always had a very much of an interest in communications as well. Decided kind of halfway through to rearrange myself and head in the communications way. I always kind of foresaw myself not really on air. I did like kind of more the aspect of the logistics of it, the planning of it. How do we make things come together? How do we get a broadcast on air? How do we arrange people and kind of get the best stories, make the best product that we can? So that was kind of always what my interests were.
Excellent. So News 10, that's where you met your partner sitting next to you here, Mike
It was.
Jaeger?
It was.
Hello.
So Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Mike Jaeger. I grew up in Wayne County, Walworth, New York.
Did we know that when you applied?
Glorious farm. They did. They took it into consideration. A lot like Ray. I grew up in Gates. No, I did not. Walworth, Brockport. We had a similar path, communications, and I had the job at Channel 10 before I graduated college. My professor saw an employee in Wegmans, and they said, hey, listen, a photographer job is open. I went and interviewed, and then the rest is history. So I don't know whether to thank Rich Steixner or have Stern talking to him. But I was at Channel 10 for 25 years, a long time, and I loved it. It was a great place. I was a photographer.
Young
Yeah, look at that. I'm just a baby there, right? Look at that. It's ridiculous. I was a photographer, segment producer, moved my way up to special projects. I did a lot of sweeps work, promotable pieces, a lot of travel, tiny bit of sports. We would travel quite a bit, anywhere within driving distance. Eventually went to the morning show, and then took this gig in, 3 years ago? 2 years ago.
So where was the best place you traveled to? What was the best event you covered on the side?
I don't know if it was the best, but it was the most eye-opening is when I went, on my first political, I went 2 weeks embedded with Rick Lazio. He was not successful. And we took private charters, and during halfway through the political trip, the planes started getting smaller and smaller, and that's when I realized that the campaign was slipping a bit, right? But it was, I had never flown before, I'm on private charter. This is the greatest thing ever. And then at the end of the career, you realize that a lot of times you're standing 32 degrees in the rain, and that's a lot of the things that I would see out of I would set up an umbrella, And I always would tell Ray that there's nothing worse than 40 degrees and rain. It's the worst thing to be out all day in. That was my view. Good majority of the times I would set up, tuck in behind in the car, hatch, and do a bunch of live shots. That's how I ended my time at Channel 10 on the morning show. And that was that. It was a good run.
So what made both of you decide to make a change and come to the sheriff's office? I know when we were talking about hiring somebody, Mike came to me and said, hey, I got these two guys from News 10. We should try to hire them both. And we were just getting really around to body cameras and doing all of that, so we had an opportunity to open it up to two people. So what really convinced both of you to leave News 10 and try something different?
You want me to?
Ray did. I did. I was just like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Ray's
So-
like, no, you should apply for this job. And I'm like,
Yeah. I saw the posting, and through my job as the assignment manager, I would talk with the PIO, Brennan Hurley, here quite often. So I called him one day and said, hey, I saw this posting. What can you kind of tell me about this job that's not on the page? And so we talked a little bit and got to a point where it seemed like, well, I had just moved and maybe I wasn't going to be able to even just meet the qualifications residence-wise for the job. So I kind of thanked Brendan for his time, and I immediately went over and said to Mike, I said, Mike, this posting, you should apply for this job. You should really apply for this job. If you're looking to get out, you should apply for this job. A couple hours goes by, Brendan calls me back and says, hey, I talked to some people here. They think you should apply for the job. If you want it, you should apply for the job. So I applied. I talked to Mike again. I said, hey, I'm applying.
Don't apply.
No, I'm applying. I'm applying, but I definitely think you should apply too. And so he and I kind of went hand in hand through the background check and the background process and all that. And in the meantime, the original posting was there was already a guy here doing this job. And during the background process, he decided he was going to move on. So now there were 2 spots open. So then when it was time to offer the job, there was 2 to offer, and the job was offered to Mike and myself. And so we decided to take the leap together.
I think I was offered first.
It's possible.
Was it hard leaving something you've done for 25 years and going somewhere completely different? If you're not from law enforcement, this is a different environment.
Totally. I stayed on part-time for 2 years after I took this job. I was able to do a lot of editing, remote work and stuff. So yeah, it was hard to leave. I didn't even, I would have stayed longer, but I wasn't fully ready to go. I mean, I loved it. We were, you had an opportunity to tell stories, try to keep people honest, Yeah. And, but it was so hard to leave. It was so hard for me to write a current resume, if I'm being completely honest. I was not prepared at my level of adulting, but I am now, and I'm so glad I came over. But it was hard for me to leave. Ray, not so much. He had his bags packed.
I was looking and I was ready to go. I mean, I had the benefit of I already had a job, and I don't think they were looking to push me out, but I had the benefit of I could kind of take my time and really look for something that I wanted. And I wanted to go to a job that gave me kind of the same rush, the same feel that I would get when I was working at Channel 10. And I thought working here, kind of understanding maybe some of the things that we were going to have the opportunities to do and be a part of, that I would still have that, to be in the thick of things, which I really liked. So when the job was offered to me, I was ready to go, and I was happy to go, and I've been very happy since I've been here. So
he really likes sharing an office with me. I mean, that's where we sat there too. It's a strange thing.
I could see that. I could see how he enjoyed it.
That's me in my shirt and tie back when I was the assignment manager. And
Hey, you know what? Because I was going to say, it's really something for what you guys do. And, now it's that time where you guys are out front. And you guys are usually, used to being behind the camera now. So now you're out front doing double duty, which I love. He's filming.
I'm going to do it. Yes, sir.
He's filming, doing double duty. But the one big question, how did that affect family life? You know what I mean? Because you guys are out there and pretty much out there at the drop of a hat, something going on or whatever, or you got maybe a big story or maybe like a sporting event, but it's a lot of time away from the family. I mean, how'd you guys deal with that?
There was a lot of time away. Here it's much more manageable. I mean, if you guys call, it's a big deal, right? So we got to come in. But in the news industry, at times, everything's a big deal, right? It's hard to decipher. So it's constant. It never ends. I think it's much more manageable here than it certainly was there for me anyway.
yeah, I mean, in my position back at the old job at the end there, it was, you were kind of in charge of everything. You had to know what was going on all the time. And so it was kind of one of the reasons I was looking to maybe leave. My kids were getting older. There was more commitments with them. So you had to, yeah. And not only that, like, you know, you're there, you leave, but you're on your phone constantly because you're looking at Twitter, you're looking at this because maybe something's going on that you got to make sure that we're not missing and stuff like that. And, you know, I met my wife working at Channel 8, and she understands how the business worked.
Right.
She was understanding to a point, but towards the end, it was a drain, and that's kind of the reason. Like Mike said, when I get the call here, I know something's big, and I know we got to be here, and no problem. And we have, you know, Mike and I both have that mentality of like, when something's going on, you go. Like that's just you're built like that. If you're working in news, you should be built like that. It's just nice to know, like, sometimes, you know, the phone's not ringing as much as it used to, and when it does ring, yeah, it's obviously got to go, and that's no problem.
So we hire both of you. How do you determine who's going to do what? So you both have the same title, but different.
It was
kind of
kinda-
split up the duties, but
It was kind of determined when we got here. We were told kind of, hey, Ray, you're going to handle more the body-worn camera side, and then you're going to do the, you know, the pictures and the video and that type of stuff. And then Mike handled kind of more of this realm of the cameras and the photos. And then we were cross-trained, and we both can do, you know, the job that we need to do. But I kind of focus more on when body camera stuff comes up. That's kind of more my purview. So that was kind of decided before we got here.
and body camera is such a huge thing for the sheriff's office, especially when we started. We only had so many cameras, and now we're completely shifting over to Axon, where
Yeah.
everyone will have a camera. How has that changed for what you're doing with the move?
So it has not happened yet. So it's been a lot of the kind of the pre-work, and you know, some of that work or a lot of that work is kind of hand in hand with some of the folks down on the fourth floor. So we're working together to do that. We're kind of waiting for the go to finally bring Axon online. Our body cam stuff now, our current stuff, you know, it's a lot of maintenance. It's a lot of, hey, I locked myself out of my account. Can you help me out? Hey, this video is not where it's supposed to be. Can you move it over to where it's supposed to be? There's days when I get 10 of those, and then there's some days when that doesn't come in at all. So it's just kind of managing as best you can. And like you said, when those things happen, you know, even off hours, I'm happy to like jump in, because if somebody gets locked out of their account, they got to get in. They got to be able
Right.
to record video and stuff like that. You know, those are 5-10 minute jobs, but you do it and you're happy to do it. And again, it's a lot of that maintenance stuff. You know, knock on wood, there's not really been any major issues while I've been here, and you've been able to kind of just handle what's coming as it's coming. And then, you know, again, when Axon comes, it'll be a whole new experience. We're learning all of it and kind of what the new nuances are. There's a lot more bells and whistles to know, but it also is going to make our job, I think, easier with some of the things we have to do with the body camera. And so I'm looking forward to kind of getting the green light to say, hey, okay, we're definitely going, and we're full on now.
Yeah, and it's such a vital role, because whenever we have an incident, the first thing people ask for, anytime there's an incident with law enforcement anywhere in the country,
Yeah.
is their body camera and what does it show, right? So seeing that body camera footage
Absolutely.
and getting it out is very important.
It is a requirement for the job.
Yeah. And, you know, our job, you know, that was a little bit of a baptism by fire. You know, when we first started, there was an incident with the sheriff's office where we had to have body camera ready, and we had to make sure that it was, you know, shaped up properly, and, you know, because it was going to be released to the media and the redactions that go along with that. So, yeah, I mean, we learned pretty quickly. We didn't know the importance of it when we got here. We learned very quickly what it was, and it was, you know, we learn it every day, and we're here to service it every day.
I will say, as I look at your roles, I think the biggest role that you can do is really just highlight all the things that the deputies do day in and day out. They just do tremendous work, and your video and your pictures and all the things you're out there showing really shows the above and beyond that they're doing on a continuous basis.
Yeah, I mean, we are proof of performance department. Well, all we're doing is showing the work, right? They're out there every single day. We just tag along them. Some of them are happy, some of them are happy when we show up, but no, everybody is just out there doing their job, and we're just trying to capture it.
You know, that's a great point. Have you noticed a change from when you first got here
Yes.
and you showed up to when you show
Yes.
up now?
Absolutely.
Because initially, I'm sure they're looking at you like the media.
Yep.
Because that's who they remember you
Yep.
from.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, we had a couple of, hey, who are these guys, right? But, chain of command, that's the way this place works. And you have, rank and file says who we are and that we're going to be here, and then we're there. So it's been great. The acceptance is great, and I think that there's buy-in. We're here to do a good job. We're here to profile what they're doing. We're not going to burn anybody.
We're
Right?
the- we're the good-
yeah, I mean, look at the dog, right? So, and dogs do better on social than anything that you can
Right,
possibly do.
right.
So I've taken more pictures of dogs here in my time than even my own dog at home. But it is something. There's buy-in. The more you do, the better work you provide.
We're
it
the
leads
good,
to more work.
We're the good news department. Like we're here to tell the good stories of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and I think a testament to our work. And I say it because people have said it to us, so I'm not just tooting our own horn here. Like we came in, and I think we kind of really brought up the level of work. Not to besmirch the person here before us, but like we have a ton of experience. We know how to tell good stories. We know how to tell them in the right way, and I think doing that and doing that well from the beginning, it gained a lot of trust from everybody here. And yeah, everybody, there's a lot more buy-in now. People understand why we're there, what we're there to do. And we tell them we're not the news. We're here to make you guys look great. And if there's something that doesn't do that, then we're going to figure it out. We have final cut. You guys have final cut of kind of what's going out there. And so, all we're trying to do is make you guys look good and tell the good stories of this department.
And I really think they see that now, right? They see the product, but it's such a shift in law enforcement to just say, too long, we've just filled every role with a sworn deputy, right? Whatever the role is, we just get a sworn deputy and get them training for that. And so with the sheriff saying, no, let's go outside, let's get people that this is what they do, this is their living, right? We're police, and this is what we know. Let's get people that are in the news industry and in the video industry, and let's get people that this is what they do.
It's 100% true, and I can't believe it. And when to take the job, I was like, they're never going to listen to me. What? I'm not sworn, right? It's the chain of command. What are they going to? They're not going to do what I ask them to do or have it. And you really do, right? They what do they call it? Subject matter experts, right? They kind of tailor what your job is and what you can do, and you can give your opinion on things. It's not always taken,
Right.
but your opinion is sought after here. I really truly believe that.
Yeah, and how many times do we ask you, what are they doing in the newsroom right now? Because we don't know, right?
Sure.
It's you two and Amy, and that's how we get
Sure.
what's going on from the newsroom and what
I know
they're
what I
talking
think.
about.
I don't know who anybody is there anymore. I know about 5 people there, but we can kind of guess what they're doing. What
And I think kind of my background helps with that too. Again, I kind of know the logistics of how the levers are being pulled and what time they're being moved and stuff like that. So I'm glad and I'm happy that I can help this department kind of, again, put their best foot forward. So
It's amazing too, because you look at a lot of the video that goes out there. People don't realize the magnitude of the work that you guys do in the background. You go out and you do the videos and you see all the glorious stuff, but then you guys you guys are the ones who got to take that feedback, edit it all up. Like you said, if there's a problem with sound, you got to sit there and listen for sound, and it's like going over and over and over this thing until you get that product that goes out that might be used out on the news, and like you said, and use it with body cameras, everything, man. I mean, the importance of what you guys do is amazing, man, and it's you should be appreciated with this.
yeah, and again, like I said, good work gets you more good work, and Mike
Yes,
and I
it
have said numerous times, like I can't believe how many times we have somebody knocking on our door and saying, hey, can you help us with this? Like, maybe a couple months prior to that, they didn't really understand what we did, but they've seen what we've done now, and now they kind of want us to help them tell their stories as well, which we're happy to do. It's great being wanted. It's great being wanted.
And they absolutely see the value in what you're doing, and they know that you're on their side, right? When I was with the city and as a captain, I used to have to talk on the news a lot, and I'd be like, I don't like the media. I don't like all the individual people are great. I just overall, you're always skeptical of what the news is going to portray or what they're going to show. So to have people that have all that experience that are really on your side trying to show the stories of the actual work going on, because people I don't think can comprehend all the work that goes on in the sheriff's office. Like, did you guys have any scope of what really happens every day, day in and day out
It's so
before you
busy.
got here?
No. It is a busy place. We had to learn chain of command, like who to answer first.
I was gonna ask you, is it different coming to a paramilitary organization from the news?
So one of the I mean, so
Yes.
our old job,
Yes.
we were the last person to touch something before it went on air. You're rushing. It's, if you've ever seen the movie Broadcast News where they're running the tape down the hallway and all the obstacles in front of them and stuff like that. It's sometimes like that because that's just the way it is, and you're the last person to touch it. Here, we touch it, then it goes up however it goes, and 4 or 5 people look at it, and then it comes back down, and hey, we want this changes, and then we fix it, and then it goes back up, and it comes back down, and we have, I think, tried to do a good job of shortening that. Not to say the process is less, but to maybe cut some of the ways out of it, just because it's the whole learning process of you guys learning how we do things, us learning how you guys do things. But yeah, it's sometimes you got to turn stuff right away, and we can do that because again we come from that mindset. But sometimes it's a lot of long-term stuff, and everybody's got to take a look and have their opinion, and then it comes back to us and we fix it, and then gets looked at again. And sometimes that can take a week, maybe 2, which is it's fine. But like it's a different mindset than I think we were used to.
And sometimes we go over it and over it and over it, and you think, oh my goodness, why are we still going over this? But then when you see the final product, you're like, that's why.
But that's okay.
Because it answers those questions.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like for us, I've said this before to other people, but like news is a little bit like Saturday Night Live. Lorne Michaels has a famous quote: we go on to 11:30 not because we're ready, but because it's 11:30. And that news is like that sometimes. Here, if you got time to shape it up and make it we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing the sheriff's office a disservice if we don't take all the time that we're allotted to make it be as best as we can before we put it out there.
It's critical that it's right, and it's put out when it's done. And that is a major fundamental shift of what we were at, Especially for me, I was photographer, editor. Ray was inside. Okay, I have a lot more snowbank time than Ray, right? But you just did it, and it was good work, but sometimes it was rushed, and
it was good as it was going to be.
It was good as it was going to be. That's 100% right. And here it is right, and it is good as it has to be. That was a huge shift for us, right?
And it's so important to get it right.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Not saying that it's not right on the news. I'm just saying that it's much more, the pace is rushed, and like there's I hope Mike has everything covered, send it, right? And it was most of the time it worked out.
What's right today may not be right tomorrow because you got more information to show or to add to a story that if you have to rush to get it out because you're trying to get information out, new information comes in and things change because that's the nature of the business. So.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that's great about what we're doing now with the Sheriff's Department is the fact that a lot of information is going out. A lot of information, the public, letting them know what's happening, letting them, meeting different deputies or different officers just to see what they do, and you guys are integral to a lot of the community learning who they are. You know what I mean? And that's what happens when you encapsulate everything. You get the correct type of audio, you get the correct type of videoing of all this whole thing.
Sure.
And you guys have been put in some situations sometimes where I sit there and I look like guys running around with guns. I don't know how you do it, but you're out there with filming and everything.
We're in the proximity of bravery, right? So I'm far enough away where I'm comfortable or I hide behind something.
Long lenses most of the time.
Yeah, we're a lot farther away than it looks. Right?
And, you go out there and you film people that really don't want to be on camera, right? They're out here to do the job. They're not out here to be highlighted.
Yes.
However, I will say this. Every time I was on the news, my wife and kids loved it. When they saw you on the news, my kids especially, they were just so excited that you were on the news. So to be able to be seen, the family likes it.
That's you in 18. I found that in my camera roll. We were doing that's a live press conference right there. So
it was for
they like that one.
And that's Mike. That's Mike.
That's
Mike's
Mike's
camera.
right
Mike's
there.
behind.
There you go. It was cold. It was cold and rainy that day.
What did your family think of that one? It was always like everybody is their own worst critic, right? So you see yourself, you're like, but we'll see how this goes. But it is it's something that always happens. Everybody else is more happy to be on TV than you. It's almost always. A lot of people don't want to do it. And we come from a whole career of trying to interview people that don't want to be interviewed. You know what I mean? I did a lot of tense investigative pieces where we would have uncomfortable interviews. They would either be scheduled or unscheduled, but we were going to talk to them either way. You know, it was wildly unpopular at times, but all part of keeping people honest.
So we don't want to do that now.
No, that's in the
We like to
past.
schedule.
That's in the past.
Do you guys got any words for like any young person that's watching this video that wants to get into being a videographer?
right?
Oh yeah,
Or-
be an accountant. That's what I would say. Computers, right? So you have to be able to do everything. You have to be a jack of all the trades.
You know, photography, videography, like, I mean, it's just like any other job. Like, learn as much as you can. Steal from other people. When I was a kid, and not so much anymore, but like, watch as much TV, movies, like things that inspire you, things that'll kind of help. You know, there's a ton of stuff like from movies I used to steal. Like, oh, that shot was cool. Let's see if I can maybe try to recreate that. I mean, it's
Right.
going to be, it's not going to look like it did in, in $100 million film, but that shot was cool. The way they kind of moved the camera there. Can I try to recreate that? And even if you could get away with one of those in a story every couple days, like that was a win. So just like, like I said, just like any other job, learn as much as you can, watch as much as you can, and practice it too. Like, you got to be out there doing it.
What do you do to stay current with AI?
It's incredible. Some of the software that's on there, even Premiere Pro, they're able to, it's this edit software that we use, it's able to write full scripts of tell people what they're saying, just interpret, and it's so accurate and so amazing that typing is
Is it making
so
your job
yesterday.
easier?
Yes.
And that's what it's supposed to do, right? It's
Absolutely,
things
absolutely.
easier.
You have to double check it, but it is the leaps and bounds of AI and technology and understanding and verbal translation text is incredible. It's amazing.
And when you look at AI, you can do one of two things. You can ignore it and get behind the curve. And we saw how that worked out for Kodak, right?
Oh.
But it's coming. AI is coming. So if you don't stay in front of it, now it's not that you trust it 100% and all of this, but you have to be in tune with it because you're going to miss the boat if you don't.
It's not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger and bigger, and that's why you got to check kids' term papers, and you have to check. You have to check your work too. It's not 100%. You got to review it, right? It still is computer based, but it is more than helpful.
Yes, and it's funny. I had to give a speech, so I went to ChatGPT and asked it to write this speech, and I thought it was pretty good. And before I edited it, because I wanted to make it more personal, but my wife read it, and as she starts reading it, she just starts laughing. I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" She goes, "This is great, but you didn't write it." I'm like, "How do you know? You're like 3 lines in." She goes, "This doesn't sound like you." So it doesn't sound like you. So it's not like it's not going to talk in your tense or how you would talk, but it gave a good product that just had to be then turned over. But you're right, like term papers at school. How do you verify? And they have things you put papers through to verify that it's not artificial intelligence
Yeah, that's
generated.
it's a whole separate industry that they run it through a supercomputer just to make sure. But it is amazing how many options there are in such a short amount of time.
And it just keeps growing. It's like kind of like spell check, right? Before, when we were in high school, there was no spell check. Everything was handwritten, and so now you have spell check for everything. I think it's going to get that way with AI, where AI is just going to help. Right?
I take video and pictures because I'm not so good at spell check or math for that matter as well. So I was more of a visual medium. And it worked out so far, maybe.
So far.
So far.
And it's hard, like you said, because you got to stay abreast of not just the software. You got to stay abreast of the hardcore stuff. Like the devices.
Yeah.
That you're using that make things easier. So that not on top of everything you're doing besides the editing, audio, the ABCD. You got to stay abreast of everything else, man. And I mean, much kudos, man. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot on the plate.
Google, right? I mean, honestly, I just Google it. I don't know what we would do without the internet. It's saved us from many a conversation. Because one thing around here, you're allowed to not know, but you're not. They want you to find out, right?
Right.
Like you can
Right.
you can cop to not knowing, but then you gotta Google it, right? Or
I don't know
figure
is
it
a
out.
great answer when you don't know, but the expectation is that you're going to
Figure
make
it out.
so you know. So as we're going to end this and go into the no Miranda zone, you guys have heard all the questions. So I just thought trying to think of what to ask you that you.
Well,
All right, so the one that I like to talk about, because I like to travel, is if money were no object, where's the one place you would go? And who would you bring?
Ooh.
My kids went to Costa Rica on their school trip, which is
Okay.
insane. Okay, but it's a different planet now. But I would like to take my my family to Costa Rica. My in-laws are way into birding, so that would be my next place of interest to go. If I think we're going to go either way. So if money or not, that's probably where we're going to end up.
Just be how nice a trip you took.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Me, I think would be a European vacation. My wife did a semester abroad in college. She was based in London, but kind of traveled all over Europe. I'm, again, like I talked about, I have a big interest in history, so I'd love to take my kids and all over Europe and kind of just explore that. That would be great.
So me and my wife went to Rome a couple years ago, and you're going and you're on these different tours, and you're looking at. They're like, oh, look at that aqueduct. It was 300 BC when it was made, and you're like 300 BC, or you're looking at a building wall, and it was made 600 AD, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't think
we don't have anything.
You don't have a grasp of history until you go
No.
to Europe and kind of see how old some of the stuff over there is.
No, we were on a tour in Europe, and they're like, yeah, your history is our recent.
Right.
Sure.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Hey, what's the last book any of you guys read?
Well, does listening to a book count as
Yes.
reading? It's
Yes.
always
We're gonna count audiobooks as we're in the new.
All right.
century.
So the last book I actually turned pages to was Demon Copperhead. It was tremendous. Barbara, I can't remember her last name, that wrote it. And then the last book that I listened to was 10% Happier. It's a former ABC News guy who just worked on being happy. And,
Did he quit the news and became 10% happier?
It certainly helped. yeah, I think so.
For me, I think it was football. I think it's called Football Genius by Mike Lombardi. He's Bill Belichick's right-hand man. I've always kind of been interested in that kind of management style with Belichick and Parcells, and I kind of find how they manage interesting. I know the perception of them can be kind of very hard-edged guys, but I think the way they deal with talent is very interesting, and and kind of the special rules for special players. When you understand that you have a guy that's kind of a generational talent, that sometimes the rules are different for those people.
Is that how you deal with Mike?
So I'll be completely honest with you. So back in
Yes.
working at Channel 10, it was back at working at Channel 10. There was a core of 5 or 6 or 7 people that you knew that you didn't have to
Right.
talk to. You could count on. Like, as I would say, they were the people that kept the lights on. Mike was one of those people. Mike and I talked when Mike went to the morning show, and every morning I called in. He and I called, and I talked from my drive-in all the way to I got to the office for like a half an hour, and we would just kind of the lay of the land, what was going on that day. Hey, what can you help me with this? What do you got going on? Like, it's just for the people that go above and beyond. Go above and beyond for them. Like, make special understand that you can go above and beyond for them. So that book kind of talked about how different people managed, and it was a little history of the NFL, but it was a lot of kind of how Belichick and Parcells and guys like from that kind of tree managed their people. And I thought I think it's a great book.
Excellent. Tiz, anything else?
No, that was it. I mean, like I said, I'm in doing the same thing with videography and audio and everything, and just talking to you guys, I feel amazed, man. Because I look at what you've done. I've done a lot of stuff, but watching the way you guys put it out in succession, and you put it out so fast, and you put it out to the masses. I give you much credit, man, and for what you do it for us here at the Sheriff's Department. And like you said, you make us look good, and we appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we
Appreciate it.
certainly
Appreciate
do. The sheriff and I talk about it all the time. We're lucky to have both of you, and we're glad you made the changeover, and hopefully enjoying yourself, and you'll stay for quite a long time here.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.